I should have fought for her, he thought, but Ujunwa's betrayal hurt him deeply. She had broken his heart and cheated. He muttered. All these fake sisters in the church, looking for rich husbands. But he knew Ujunwa wasn't like that. He still felt hurt. In the big busy city of Lagos, there was a lady named Ujunwa. Ujunwa liked to visit her favorite restaurant every Saturday. She always sat in her favorite spot, a quiet corner where she could look outside and see the busy street. She liked to watch people walking by as she sipped her drink. The place made her feel relaxed and happy. Ujunwa was 32 years old. She was smart and worked as a marketing executive in a big company. She had many ideas that helped the company grow, and people at work liked her a lot. She had worked very hard to get where she was because her life had not been easy. Her family was poor when she was young. She had a brother, but he passed away because they couldn't afford the money they needed for surgery. Ujunwa missed him a lot and promised herself she would become rich so she could always help herself and others. Every weekend, Ujunwa changed her routine. During the week, she worked hard at her job, dressed in fancy clothes, and made important decisions. But on Saturdays, she wore jeans and a simple t-shirt, blending in with the relaxed crowd at her favorite restaurant. She liked this change and enjoyed the quiet time she spent there. Sundays were also peaceful for her. She would go to church, visit her parents, or rest at home watching TV and sleeping. Though Ujunwa was successful, she sometimes felt lonely. Her last relationship didn't end well. She knew some men didn't like that she had a good job and was successful. Many men admired her for her beauty. Ujunwa had smooth dark skin, bright eyes, and a lovely smile. But deep inside, she wanted someone who loved her for more than her looks or money. One Saturday, while Ujunwa was sipping her drink, the door of the restaurant opened. A young man walked in. He was tall and had a camera in his hand. He looked confident, like he knew what he was doing. Ujunwa saw him, and their eyes met for a second. She quickly looked away, feeling something strange inside her, but she didn't know what it was. The young man ordered a drink and some snacks. He sat near the window, just like Ujunwa liked to do. He took out his camera and started taking pictures of the people and cars outside. Ujunwa watched him for a while, thinking he seemed focused and serious about his work. She found him interesting and charming, but didn't want to think too much about it. After all, she didn't know him. This young man was named Izu. He was new to Lagos and worked as a photographer. He had discovered this restaurant a few weeks ago after moving to the city and had made it his regular spot for lunch. Just like Ujunwa, Izu enjoyed the peacefulness of the place. 2 weeks ago, he had noticed a beautiful woman sitting by the window. Today, he saw her again, and this time, he could see more than just her face. She was stunning, with a body that made heads turn. But soon, Izu got lost in taking pictures, and when he looked up again, Ujunwa was gone. Over the next few weekends, Ujunwa and Izu saw each other more often at the restaurant. They didn't talk much, only giving each other polite smiles and nods. But Ujunwa felt something. She didn't like the feeling of being attracted to someone she didn't know. She thought it was best to stop coming to the restaurant and find another place. However, before she could leave that evening, Izu walked up to her. "Excuse me," he said kindly. "I've seen you here a few times, and I noticed you looking at my photography. Would you like to see more of my work?" Ujunwa was surprised but curious. She nodded. "Sure, I would love to." Izu sat down beside her and showed her some of his photos. Ujunwa was impressed. The pictures were full of life and emotion, capturing moments that made her feel something. She smiled and said, "These are amazing. You are really talented." Izu smiled back, pleased with her compliment. "Thank you," he said. "Photography is how I share my thoughts and feelings. It's my passion." They talked for a while, sharing stories about their lives and work. They discovered they had something in common. They both believed in God. This made their bond even stronger. Ujunwa felt comfortable around Izu, more than she had expected. He was kind and interesting, and he listened when she spoke. She started to enjoy their time together more and more. Soon, they began meeting at the restaurant every weekend. They talked about their dreams, their families, and the things they loved. Ujunwa found herself looking forward to every Saturdays just to see Izu. But she also felt worried. Izu was younger than her by 5 years, and her career was just starting. She wasn't sure if he would want to be with someone older, someone who already had a successful career, and she wondered what people might think if they found out. She also didn't know if Izu liked her the same way she liked him. One Saturday, Ujunwa waited at the restaurant for Izu, but he didn't come. She spent the whole afternoon there, but he never showed up. It was then that she realized they hadn't even exchanged phone numbers. She felt silly for not asking for his contact before. She decided to come back during the week, hoping to see him at lunchtime, but each time he wasn't there. What Ujunwa didn't know was that Izu had to leave town for work. One night he got a phone call asking him to take photos at a big event in Kano. The next morning, he was on a flight to Kano, where he stayed for 3 weeks. There was a new emir being crowned, and Izu had been hired to take pictures of one of the families at the event. It was a busy and exciting time for Izu, but even in Kano, he couldn't stop thinking about Ujunwa. Izu missed the quiet Saturdays at the restaurant and the easy conversations with Ujunwa. He liked spending time with her, and he realized he had feelings for her. He didn't mind that she was older. For him, age didn't matter, but he wasn't sure how she felt. He had never asked for her number because he liked the mystery of meeting her by chance every weekend. Now, though he regretted not having a way to reach her, Izu couldn't wait to return to Lagos. Days later, Izu had returned to Lagos on a bright Tuesday morning. His heart was full of thoughts about Ujunwa, and he couldn't wait until Saturday to see her again. He missed her smile, her voice, and the time they had spent together. Izu remembered Ujunwa telling him where she worked, and he decided to look for her. Izu was excited as he walked into her office building. The receptionist looked at him, puzzled, and asked if she could help him. He smiled and said, "I'm looking for Miss Ujunwa." The receptionist called Ujunwa's office and told her that a man named Mr. Izu was waiting to see her. When Ujunwa heard that Izu was there, she was surprised. She couldn't believe it. "Izu is here," she thought to herself. She had not expected him to show up at her office. She quickly fixed her hair and stood up, feeling a mix of excitement and nerves. She had missed him too, but she wasn't ready for this surprise visit. As Ujunwa entered the visitor's room, she saw Izu sitting there, looking more handsome than ever. He wore a nice shirt and jeans, and his smile made her heart skip a bit. Ujunwa felt like running to him and hugging him, but she knew she had to act professionally because they were in her office. She smiled instead and said, "Izu, what a surprise. How did you find me?" Izu stood up, his eyes never leaving hers. "You told me where you worked," he said with a playful smile. "I couldn't wait until Saturday to see you again. I missed you, Uju." Ujunwa felt her cheeks get warm. She had missed him too, but she didn't want to show it too much. "Well, it's nice to see you too," she said, trying to stay calm. "But I'm in the middle of work right now." Izu nodded, understanding. I didn't mean to disturb you, he said gently. I just couldn't wait to see you. How about dinner tonight? We can catch up then. Ujunwa's face brightened with a smile. Dinner sounds nice, she said softly. I'll give you my address and you can pick me up later. They exchanged contact details, and after a few more words, Izu left the office. As Ujunwa sat back at her desk, she felt her heart racing. She hadn't expected to feel this excited, but she was looking forward to dinner with Izu. The rest of the day seemed to move slowly for Ujunwa. She tried to focus on her work, but her mind kept drifting back to Izu and the dinner they would have. She thought about what she would wear and wondered where he would take her. It was hard to concentrate because she felt so happy. Finally, when the clock showed 5 p.m., Ujunwa packed up her things and headed home. She took her time getting ready for dinner, wanting to look perfect. She chose a simple yet elegant red dress and let her long hair fall down her shoulders. She looked at herself in the mirror and smiled. She felt beautiful and confident. At exactly 7 p.m., Izu arrived at Ujunwa's house in an Uber. He stepped out of the car and waited by the gate. When Ujunwa walked out, she saw the admiration in his eyes, and her heart fluttered. You look amazing, Izu said, offering her his arms. Thank you, Ujunwa replied shyly, taking his arm. Shall we go? They drove to a cozy restaurant where soft music played in the background. The place was quiet, just right for a nice conversation. They were seated at a table near the window where they could see the city lights. Ujunwa felt calm and relaxed as they began to talk. During the dinner, they spoke about many things: their work, their families, and their dreams. Izu shared how he wanted to grow in his career, and Ujunwa talked about how much she loved her job. There was a warm connection between them, and they both enjoyed each other's company. As the night went on, Izu couldn't help but admire Ujunwa. She was smart, kind, and beautiful. He liked the way she smiled and the way she talked about her work with so much passion. He knew he liked her a lot and wanted to spend more time with her. Ujunwa too was drawn to Izu. She liked how simple and honest he was. She could tell he was a good person with a big heart. As they laughed and talked, she felt herself getting more comfortable around him. She hadn't felt this happy in a long time. After dinner, Izu and Ujunwa took a walk outside the restaurant. The night air was cool and the stars shone brightly in the sky. They walked side by side, enjoying the peacefulness of the evening. I'm really glad we did this, Izu said, looking at Ujunwa. I've been thinking about you a lot since we last met. Ujunwa smiled. I've been thinking about you too, she admitted, feeling a little shy. It's been nice getting to know you. As they continued walking, Izu stopped and turned to Ujunwa. His face was serious, but his eyes were kind. Uju, I know we've only known each other for a short time, but I feel something special between us. He said softly, I care about you and I want to see where this goes. Ujunwa's heart raced as she looked into his eyes. She felt the same way, but she was scared. She had worked so hard to build her career, and she wasn't sure if she was ready for a relationship. Plus, there was the age difference. She was a successful executive, and Izu was just starting in his career. She lived in a luxury apartment, and he shared a flat with a friend. Izu, I care about you too, Ujunwa said honestly, but I don't know if we can make this work. Our lives are so different, and I don't want to hold you back. Izu reached out and took her hand. I don't see it that way, he said, his voice gentle. You don't hold me back, Uju. You inspire me to be better. I don't care about the differences between us. All I'm asking is for a chance to see where this could go. Ujunwa's mind was filled with thoughts. Could they make this work? Would people talk about them because of the age gap? Could she really let herself fall for Izu without worrying about what others would think? Izu, people would talk, Ujunwa said quietly. They will say things about us, about me especially. I don't want them to see me as someone who is desperate. Uju, I don't care what people say, Izu replied firmly. I care about you and what we could have together. I've prayed about us, and I feel at peace. I wasn't even thinking about a relationship before I met you, but now I can't stop thinking about you." Ujunwa looked down, her heart full of conflicting emotions. She liked Izu, and she felt something special between them, but the doubts wouldn't go away. Could she take a leap of faith and give them a chance? Or would she let fear and what others may say stop her from exploring some beautiful things? As they stood there under the night sky, Ujunwa knew she had to make a decision. It wasn't an easy one, but she knew she couldn't keep running from their feelings forever. Ujunwa felt a mix of emotion as she walked back home after spending the evening with Izu. His words still echoed in her head. He had spoken with so much sincerity, and the way he looked at her made her heart race. She had never met anyone like him before. Izu saw the world in a way that made her feel special. He was passionate about everything and believed in, especially his faith in God. That was something Ujunwa admired deeply. But despite all this, Ujunwa still had doubts. Was it wise to open her heart again? Would people judge her if she continued seeing Izu, who was younger than her? These thoughts kept swelling in her mind, making her feel confused. As she entered her house, her phone buzzed. It was her good friend Adobe. "Hey Uju, it's been a while. How are you doing? Let's catch up tomorrow. Drinks?" Adobe tested. Ujunwa smiled. It had been so long since she had spent time with Adobe, her friend, and she knew that talking to her friend might help her clear her head. She agreed to meet Adobe the next day. The following evening, Ujunwa met Adobe at a beautiful rooftop bar. The lights from the tall buildings in the city twinkled like stars. They found a nice spot and sat down, enjoying the cool breeze and the sound of people chatting around them. "Wow, Uju, you look amazing," Adobe said with a wide smile. "There's something different about you. What's going on?" Ujunwa blushed a little. "Well, I met someone," she said, smiling shyly. Adobe's eyes widened. "Oh my goodness, you're blushing. My friend is in love. Tell me all about him." Ujunwa shared her recent experiences with Izu, explaining how kind, thoughtful, and passionate he was. Adobe listened carefully, nodding as Ujunwa spoke. "He sounds great, Uju, but I can see why you are hesitant. The age difference, his job just starting. It's a lot to think about." "I know, right?" Ujunwa sighed. "But he's so genuine. I haven't felt like this in a long time. But still, I wonder what people will say. Is it fair to either of us?" Adobe reached out and held Ujunwa's hand. "Uju, don't worry about what other people think. If you're happy, that's all that matters. Remember your last relationship. Felix wasn't supportive of your success, but here is a man who cares about you. Don't let a few years difference hold you back." Ujunwa nodded, taking in her friend's advice. She knew Adobe was right, but she still needed time to think about it. That night, as Ujunwa lay in bed, she made up her mind. She would give Izu a chance, but they would take things slow. She wanted to be sure before diving in fully. The next morning, Ujunwa tested Izu and asked if they could meet for lunch. Izu quickly replied, excited to see her. They agreed to meet at a small bistro they both liked. During lunch, Ujunwa felt at ease. Izu talked about his photography work, and Ujunwa found herself laughing at his funny stories. There was something about being with Izu that made her feel light, like she could be herself without worry. "Izu," Ujunwa said gently, "I've been thinking. I do like you, but I'm still unsure about some things. I want to take it slow, if that's okay." Izu smiled warmly. "Of course, Uju. We'll go at your pace. I'm just happy spending time with you." Over the next few weeks, Ujunwa and Izu grew closer. They explored new places in the city, attended church programs together, and spent quiet time talking about life and their goals. Ujunwa was beginning to feel a happiness she hadn't felt in a long time. However, it wasn't always easy. Some of Ujunwa's friends and family members started asking questions. They pointed out the age gap and how Izu wasn't as established in his career yet. These comments made Ujunwa feel uneasy, even though she tried to ignore them. One day, Izu noticed that Ujunwa seemed troubled. Uju, he said softly, I know people are talking, but I just want you to know that my feelings for you are real. I want us to work, no matter what anyone else says. Ujunwa felt comforted by Izu's words. She knew that she had to trust her own heart and not let other people's opinions cloud her judgment. She decided to focus on the present and enjoy the moments she shared with Izu. They soon began talking about their future together. Izu suggested that they inform their pastors about their relationship, as it was an important step for them both. Ujunwa agreed, feeling hopeful about where things were headed. But before they could proceed with their plans, Izu received news that he needed to travel for work. He would be gone for 3 weeks. Ujunwa felt a pang of sadness at the thought of him being away, but she understood. Izu had always been supportive of her when she was busy with work, so now it was her turn to do the same for him. While Izu was away, Ujunwa tried to stay busy. She missed him but focused on her job and other responsibilities. It was during this time that she met someone new, Anthony. Ujunwa was attending a big corporate event when she first saw Anthony. He was tall, handsome, and carried himself with a confidence that caught her attention immediately. There was something about him that was different. He was charming, polished, and seemed to have everything going for him. Anthony was 36, and unlike Izu, he was already wealthy and successful. His presence filled the room, and Ujunwa couldn't help but be drawn to him. As they talked at the event, Ujunwa found herself captivated by Anthony's charm. He was the kind of man she had always imagined being with. Ujunwa had a big decision to make. She knew that whatever she decided would change her life forever. She had two people in her life who both cared about her in different ways, Izu and Anthony. Izu made her happy with his love. He was simple and kind, and Ujunwa loved how he always supported her. He wasn't rich, but he worked hard as a photographer, and Ujunwa liked the way he believed in their future together. Being with Izu was peaceful, but there were times when people talked behind their backs. Ujunwa had heard whispers about how she, a smart and successful woman, was dating a younger man who didn't have much. The mean words sometimes hurt her, even when Izu tried his best to ignore them. Anthony was different from Izu in almost every way. He was older, very rich, and lived a fancy life. He was always dressed in the finest clothes and drove the most expensive cars. Anthony liked to spend money on Ujunwa, buying her gifts and inviting her for fancy dinners. He said he wanted to make her happy and give her a comfortable life. His words seemed so exciting and full of promise. Ujunwa couldn't deny that Anthony's attentions made her feel special too. But as much as Ujunwa enjoyed Anthony's company, she knew that there was more to a relationship than gifts and fancy things. A part of her liked the idea of living a life with Anthony, but she wasn't sure if it was the right choice. It was like standing between two different doors, and she didn't know which one to open. Ujunwa thought about Izu a lot. He had never made her feel like she wasn't enough. He was always happy to be with her, no matter what people said. Ujunwa loved how he looked at the world through his camera, always finding beauty in simple things. He didn't care about being rich, but cared about doing what he loved. And when he was around her, she felt like she was doing the right thing by staying with him. But when Anthony came into her life, things got confusing. Anthony showed her a life where she wouldn't have to worry about money or what people thought. His smooth words and the way he treated her made her think about what she wanted in her future. Maybe being with someone like Anthony would make her life easier, but was that enough? Each day, Ujunwa's heart felt heavier. She liked both Izu and Anthony, but she knew she couldn't keep seeing them both. She had to choose, and it scared her. What if she made the wrong decision? What if she hurt one of them? One night, after a long day at work, Ujunwa sat in her room, Thinking deeply, she stared at the ceiling, wondering what to do. She didn't want to lose Izu, but she didn't also want to miss the chance to live a better life with Anthony. Izu was always there for her, but Anthony offered her something different, something more. Ujunwa knew she had to figure out what truly made her happy, but it wasn't easy. She had to be careful, and she needed more time to think. As the days went by, Ujunwa's thoughts kept swirling around her head. She wished she could have both Izu's love and Anthony's comfort, but she knew life didn't work that way. She had to pick one. Would she choose the simple, honest love she had with Izu, or would she pick the life of luxury and security that Anthony promised? With every passing day, the decision seemed harder. Ujunwa didn't know what to do, and the longer she waited, the more confused she became. But deep down, she knew the time was coming when she would have to make up her mind. And so, Ujunwa stood at a crossroad, her heart heavy with the weight of the choice she had to make. Ujunwa got so worried, and she decided to meet with her good friend Adobe to talk about her problems. Ujunwa is caught between two men, Anthony and Izu, and doesn't know what to do. She feels very confused and upset. She likes Izu, but is also attracted to Anthony, and she feels like she's being pulled into two different directions. Adobe listens carefully as Ujunwa shares her thoughts. Adobe can see that Ujunwa's past is making it hard for her to make a clear decision. Uju, Adobe says softly, I think your past is affecting your thinking. I know you grew up poor, and that is why you are leaning towards Anthony. But remember, you are successful now. You don't need to make choice out of fear. Give Izu a few more years, and his career will grow too. Ujunwa listens to her friend and realizes Adobe might be right. I didn't think about it like that, she admits. I guess I'm always scared of going back to the way things were when we were poor. It's been my reason to keep pushing forward, to succeed. Even now that I have a good life, I can't stop wanting more. I'm still afraid. Maybe you should try talking to someone like a therapist, Adobe suggests. Ujunwa shakes her head. There is nothing wrong with me. It's not about something being wrong with you, Uju. Adobe explains. It's about understanding why you think the way you do. Sometimes, how we grow up shapes how we behave as adults. If we don't understand it, it can hurt our future. Talking to someone can help you see things more clearly. But Ujunwa doesn't think therapy will help. No, I'll be okay, she insists. Not long after their conversation, Izu got a job out of town. He has to go away to work on a new project, and he will be gone for a whole month. Ujunwa starts to feel lonely while Izu is away. She misses him, but Anthony is always around, trying to spend time with her. It becomes harder and harder for Ujunwa to resist Anthony's attention. Ujunwa has been saving money to go on a vacation. She dreams of visiting Dubai, a place famous for its tall buildings, beautiful hotels, and exciting things to do. She imagines herself enjoying the sights and the fun activities. But then, out of nowhere, Anthony surprises her. He invites her on a trip to Paris. Paris is also a place she has always wanted to visit, and she knows it's a once-in-a-lifetime chance. Ujunwa knows that going on to the trip with Anthony means she is giving in to his advances. She is worried about what it will mean for her relationship with Izu. But the chance to go to Paris is too exciting to say no. She agrees to go but tells Anthony that they will stay in separate rooms. Anthony agrees but books 2 rooms for them. When they arrived in Paris, Ujunwa is overwhelmed by how beautiful the city is. Everything she sees amazes her. The tall buildings, the fancy shops, and the delicious food make her feel like she is in a dream. She has the time of her life, swimming with dolphins and riding through deserts on a safari. It feels like a perfect vacation, and Ujunwa starts to forget about her worries. But Anthony is always there, showering her with gifts and attention. Ujunwa can feel herself being drawn closer to him. He's very charming and she finds it hard to resist. Eventually, she gives in to her feelings and starts a romantic relationship with him. She knows deep down that she is betraying Isu, but she convinces herself that it wouldn't have worked out between them because of their age difference. After returning from the trip, Ujunwa continues seeing Anthony. She stops answering Izu's calls and doesn't reply to his messages. She even avoids going to the restaurant where they used to meet. Izu doesn't understand what is going on. He tries to reach her many times but gets no response. He even goes to her office, but she always tells the receptionist to turn him away. Izu is confused. When he left for his work trip, everything was fine between them. They had talked on the phone and sent messages to each other. But 2 weeks into the trip, Ujunwa stopped replying. His trip was extended because of bad weather, so by the time he came back, it had been a whole month. He tries to see Ujunwa, but she keeps avoiding him. One day, Izu decides to visit her at home. He pretends to be delivering a package so that she won't turn away. When Ujunwa opens the door and sees him standing there, she looks surprised and nervous. "Can I come in?" Izu asks quietly. Ujunwa hesitates for a moment, but then steps aside to let him into the house. Izu looks at her, his heart full of sadness. He missed her so much while he was away. He tries to understand what has changed, but Ujunwa won't meet his eyes. "Why have you been avoiding me, Uju?" Izu asked. "I've called, I've tested, and I even came to your office. What's going on?" "Nothing is going on," Ujunwa answers quickly. "I've just been busy lately." Izu knows she isn't telling the truth. "We were fine before I left," he says. "What happened? Did I do anything wrong?" Before Ujunwa can answer, Anthony walks into the room. He looks at Izu but doesn't say anything. He walks over to Ujunwa and gave her a kiss on the cheek. Ujunwa feels embarrassed and tries to pull away, but it's too late. Izu has already seen enough. "Is everything okay here?" Anthony asked. "Everything is fine," Ujunwa replies softly. "Alright," Anthony says. "I'll be in the bedroom. Don't keep me waiting." As Anthony leaves the room, Ujunwa feels ashamed. She can't look at Izu, who is standing there in shock. "So this is it," Izu says sadly. "You've replaced me with him, a man who is rich and the right age for you." "It's none of your business," Ujunwa says, her voice shaking. "I thought you believed in no sex before marriage." Izu continues. "What happened to your faith, Uju? How can you compromise everything you believe in for a man?" Ujunwa is silent for a moment, then says, "It's my life, Izu. I can make my own choices." Izu looks at her with hurt in his eyes. "I wish you well, Ujunwa," he says, his voice filled with sadness. Then he turns and walks out of the house. As the door closes behind him, Ujunwa feels a deep pain in her heart. She knows she has lost something precious, but it is too late. She has made her choice. Izu was very sad that day when he got home. His heart felt heavy because of what happened with Ujunwa. He decided to go to his family house. His flatmate Uma, who tried to comfort him. Uma was a good friend and always knew how to make Izu smile. "I wish you didn't have to leave. You've been the best flatmate ever," Uma said, feeling sad too. "I wish I didn't either, but I need to put some distance between Ujunwa and me." Izu replied, "There is nothing keeping me here." "Are you sure you're going to be okay?" Uma asked, concerned. "Yes, I'm going to be home to my parents. I need their love and comfort right now. I have a job lined up soon, so I'll be fine." "I'm going to miss you, man," Uma said, looking a bit sad. "It's me you will miss, or my delicious cooking," Izu joked, trying to lighten the mood. "That too," Uma laughed. They both chuckled, remembering the fun times they had together. But deep down, Izu still felt the weight of his heartbreak. "Izu, take care of yourself. Don't forget to call or visit when you can," Uma said seriously. "Of course, you take care too, and try not to burn down the kitchen without me," Izu replied with a smile. They shared a strong handshake and a warm hug. Izu picked up his last suitcase and walked to the door. He took a deep breath, feeling both sad and relieved. Leaving Ujungwa was very hard for him. He felt like the hardest choice in his life. As Izu walked to his Uber, thought raced in his mind. I should have fought for her, he thought, but Ujungwa's betrayal hurt him deeply. She had broken his heart and cheated. He muttered. All these fake sisters in the church, looking for rich husbands. But he knew Ujungwa wasn't like that. He still felt hurt. At the airport, as he prepared to board his flight, he heard a voice. Don't leave. Ujungwa needs you. Izu paused, looking back for a moment, but he kept walking. He realized he needed to heal first. When Izu arrived home, his parents were very happy to see him. His mother made his favorite pasta dish, but Izu didn't feel like eating. His parents noticed he seemed different. That night, when Izu went to his room, his father followed him. Son, it's good to have you back, he said gently. It's good to be home, Dad, Izu replied gently too. But I can see something is bothering you, his father said, concern in his eyes. Don't worry about it, Dad. I'll be okay, Izu assured him. You know, a problem shared is a problem half solved. I could help you see things differently, his father offered gently. Izu sighed deeply. He felt the warmth of his father's presence. After a few moments, he began to share his feelings. He talked about how he met Ujungwa and how much he loved her. He explained their age difference and the problems it caused. Despite their love, the pressure from others was too much for Ujungwa. It felt like everything was perfect at first, Izu said, his voice shaking. We were happy together, despite what others said. But over time, the whispers grew louder. He looked down at his hands, feeling sad. Uju tried to ignore it, and so did I. But it got louder and tougher. People told her she could do better. They said she was wasting her time with me. I tried to show her I was worth it, but it wasn't enough. His father nodded, encouraging him to continue. Izu told him about the day he was away for work when he found out Ujungwa had gone on a trip with another man. When I confronted her, she had no answers. It felt like she needed someone else, someone who could give her what she wanted. Tears began to roll down Izu's cheeks. I didn't blame her, but it still hurt. It hurt so much, Dad. His father placed a comforting hand on Izu's shoulder. I understand, son. Love can be hard and hurtful, but remember, these experiences can make you stronger. But why didn't you stay to fight for her? His father asked gently. Dad, she's with someone else now, Izu replied, feeling defeated. But you said she was your soulmate, the one meant for you. His father reminded him. Yes, but she made her choice. You always have a choice. Just because you believe she is the one doesn't mean you should give up. You should fight for her. But how? Izu asked, feeling lost. On your knees, son. This family has settled many matters with prayer. Your mother and I raised you to never give up. You don't leave just because things get tough or because someone you love hurts you. She chose to be with someone else. Have you thought about where that man has been all this time? Izu listened to his father's words. Suddenly, things began to make sense. He remembered the voice at the airport, urging him not to leave. Dad, I let my anger cloud my judgment. I will stay here for a few days to pray and find guidance. Then I will return and let the Holy Spirit lead me. That's a wise choice. I will pray with you, his father said. They both knelt together and prayed. Izu's father asked God to help them and guide Ujungwa in making the right choices. After the prayers, Izu looked up, feeling lighter. Thank you, Dad. You're welcome, son, his father replied with a smile. For the first time since all the trouble began, Izu felt calm. He closed his eyes and drifted off to sleep, ready to heal and think about his future. The following day, Izu woke up with a clear mind. After spending some time in prayer for himself and Ujungwa, he joined his parents for breakfast. They were glad to see him looking better. His father had already hinted to his mother about Izu's recent struggles, and the family shared stories and laughter over their meal. Just as the atmosphere felt warm, and comforting, Izu's phone rang. Seeing it was his agent, he excused himself and stepped outside to take the call. I have good news, Izu, his agent said, excitement evident in his voice. Hit me, Izu replied, trying to sound casual but feeling a flutter of anticipation. There's a new project that just came up, the agent began. It's a major film, and the director specifically requested you. They were impressed with your previous work and think you would be perfect for this. Izu's heart raced. Really? What's the film about? It's a documentary on the life of a genius. The offer is juicy, and I will send you the contract. This is the big break you've been waiting for. A spark of excitement ignited within Izu. I can't believe it. What's the timeline? They want to start shooting in a week, but they need a commitment from you within the next few days. Are you in? Taking a deep breath, Izu realized this could be the fresh start he needed. I'm in, he said, feeling a surge of determination. Fantastic. I'll send over the contract. We will set up a meeting with the director soon. Congratulations, Izu. This could be a game changer for you. Thanks, I really appreciate it, Izu replied, his voice filled with gratitude. After hanging up, he stood outside for a moment, absorbing the news. A sense of hope began to replace the lingering sadness in his heart. When Izu returned to the breakfast table, his parents noticed the change in his demeanor. What was it about? His mother asked, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. Izu beamed. That was my agent. I've been offered to work on a project, a documentary on the life of a genius. It's incredible. His parents erupted with joy. That's wonderful news, son, his father said, clapping him on the back. We are so proud of you. Thanks, Dad. I feel like this could be the start of something great, Izu replied, genuinely optimistic for the first time in a long while. What about Ujungwa and your plans to win her back? His father asked, breaking the joyful moment. Izu hesitated. He had momentarily forgotten about that. I guess that will have to wait until I return from this project, he replied thoughtfully. Are you sure about that? His father pressed. Dad, this is a lifetime opportunity. You have no idea how much I will earn from this project. After it, I believe I will have a better chance with Ujunwa, Izu explained, his voice filled with hope. I hope so, son, his father concluded, sensing Izu's resolve. As they continued their breakfast, Izu thought about Ujunwa. He hoped that when she found out he had money, she wouldn't look down on him as she had before. With renewed determination, he decided to focus on the project and make the most of the opportunity. Days later, Izu left his parents' home, excited to begin the project. He was impressed by the caliber of people involved and fully immersed himself in the work. The demanding schedule kept him busy for 3 months, and even after the main shoot, he remained for retakes and editing. As the project neared its end, Izu started receiving numerous offers for other projects, but he turned them down. His mind was set on returning to Lagos to sort things out with Ujunwa. He called his friend Uma, who welcomed him back warmly. When Uma picked him up from the airport, they caught up on each other's lives. Uma expressed pride in Izu's work on the documentary. After dinner, Uma brought up the reason for Izu's sudden return. I thought you said you were never coming back to Lagos. I did, but I had a change of heart. I feel the connection Ujunwa and I had was real. I hope she's come back to her senses by now, and we can talk, Izu explained. Uma fell silent for a moment, his expression shifting. Sensing something was wrong, Izu asked, is everything okay? Why are you quiet? Looking Izu in the eye, Uma delivered the news. Ujunwa just got married over the weekend. What? Izu's heart sank. Yeah, I saw the wedding on social media. You know that guy Anthony Momo? He's rich. They got married just this Saturday. I'm really sorry, man. Izu felt as if he had been punched in the stomach. Uma showed him the wedding pictures, and Izu's heart shattered with each image. I want to be alone, he said quietly. the weight of the news crushing him. Are you sure you're going to be okay? Uma asked, concern in his eyes. Yeah, I'll be back soon, Izu replied, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. He took a walk to the restaurant where he first met Ujungwa. Sitting at her favorite spot, memories flooded his mind. The first time he saw her, their laughter, the connection they shared. Izu felt a deep pain, like losing a precious jewel forever. It was hard for him to let go of Ujungwa. Regret washed over him. He wished he had returned sooner. He had been naive to think she would wait for him. Now that she was married, he realized he had truly lost her. After a while, he stood up and murmured, "Goodbye, Ujungwa," as he walked out of the restaurant, not daring to look back. Meanwhile, Ujungwa was enjoying her honeymoon in the Maldives, surrounded by breathtaking views and the love of her new husband, Anthony. She felt like a princess, overwhelmed with gratitude. Yet, amidst her happiness, a pang of guilt lingered. Since dating Anthony, she had stopped attending church. Her pastor had reached out several times, urging her to return, but she avoided him. Even the youth pastor contacted her, asking her to seek God's guidance for her major life decisions. Ujungwa appreciated their concern, but felt too ashamed to face them again. 3 months passed, and Sundays became lazy days for her. She and Anthony attended various events, but Ujungwa hadn't prayed regularly, and the guilt of neglecting her spiritual life weighed heavily on her heart. Ujungwa was overjoyed. She had received a promotion at work. This meant she would be in charge of the Port Harcourt branch. For Ujungwa, this was a dream come true. She had worked hard for many years. She felt proud and excited about her new role. With a big smile on her face, she rushed home to share the news with Anthony. She couldn't wait to see his reaction. "Guess what, babe? I got the promotion. I'm going to head the Port Harcourt branch," she said cheerfully. Anthony looked at her with a blank expression. "Oh, congratulations, Ujungwa. That's good news." "Just good news? Anthony, this is huge for me. I've worked so hard for this." "I know you have, and I'm proud of you. But Port Harcourt, that's far from here. What about us?" Ujungwa felt a knot in her stomach. "I understand it's a big change, but this is an incredible opportunity. We can make it work, right? It's not just as the distance. Your job has always been demanding, and now it might get even tougher. I know it won't be easy, but I believe we can handle it. We can visit each other often. We just got married. This is not what I signed up for. I told you that you don't need to work. I can take good care of you." Ujungwa felt hot. "But you said you were okay with me working. So what changed?" "I changed my mind. I thought I would be okay, but I'm not. You have to reject that promotion." "Reject it? Do you know what that means? Someone junior to me will take my position. Then start your own company. I will support you." "Anthony, I'm not ready for that yet. I still have a lot to learn." "Look, you are not going to Port Harcourt. That's final." Ujungwa's heart sank. "This is my life and my career. Then you will have to choose between me and Port Harcourt." With that, Anthony walked away. Ujungwa felt lost and confused. "Oh my God, I can't believe this," she whispered, slumping into a chair. She thought about Izu, her friend who would support her no matter what. Days passed, and things only got worse. Anthony stopped talking to her. He left early in the morning and returned late at night. He didn't eat dinner with her and slept in the guest room. Ujungwa felt alone. She thought they could talk about anything, but now it seemed impossible. At work, the pressure mounted. Her boss wanted to know her decision about the promotion. She had been given 2 weeks to respond, and now the time was almost up. She felt trapped between her career and her marriage. Feeling desperate, Ujungwa decided to visit her parents. She hoped they could help her figure things out. On Saturday morning, she drove to their house. As she walked in, the warmth of home surrounded her, making her feel a bit better. "Mom, Dad, I need to talk to you," Ujungwa said as she entered the living room. Her parents looked up, concerned on their faces. "What's wrong, dear?" Her mother asked. It's about the promotion. Ujunwa began, sitting down between them. Anthony and I have been having a lot of issues since I got the offer. He's been distant, and I don't know what to do again. Tell us what's been happening. Her father said gently. Ujunwa explained everything. She shared how Anthony had changed and her struggle with the promotion. Her mother listened closely, while her father remained serious. After she finished, her mother spoke first. Ujunwa, this promotion is a big achievement. You've worked very hard for it, but I understand Anthony's worries too. Marriage requires sacrifice. Her father nodded. Ujunwa, you and Anthony must communicate clearly. This is an important time for both of your career and marriage. Have you thought about seeing a marriage counselor? Sometimes they can help. Anthony won't agree to do that, Papa. He doesn't even want to talk, she replied sadly. Her mother squeezed her hand. We are proud of you, but you must consider your marriage. What will people think if you leave him after only 3 months? You can't lose a man like Anthony. He has changed our lives. Are you saying I should give up my career for my marriage? Why can't I have both? I was doing well before I met Anthony, Ujunwa said, feeling frustrated. Marriage is very important. If you succeed, who will share it with you? You just got married. You should focus on starting a family, not your job. Her mother insisted. Mom, how can you think like that? Ujunwa asked, her voice shaky. Ujunwa, you are my daughter. I have shared my opinion. Reject that transfer and focus on your marriage, her mother said firmly, standing up and leaving the room. Ujunwa turned to her father. Dad, don't mind her. She has always been focused on money. Whatever you decide, I will support you, her father assured her. Thank you, Dad, Ujunwa said, feeling a wave of relief. She felt comforted by her father's support, but was still unsure. She knew she had to make a decision soon. The pressure from work and her marriage was overwhelming. She sat quietly, thinking about her next steps. Her heart ached as she thought about Anthony. She loved him, but she also loved her career. Ujunwa felt torn between two important parts of her life. The days passed slowly, and Ujunwa continued to reflect on her situation. She knew she needed to talk to Anthony again. She hoped they could find a way to make it work together. Ujunwa spent the weekend thinking about her choices. She understood both sides, but wished Anthony could see how much this opportunity meant to her. As Monday approached, Ujunwa felt anxious. She wanted to do what was right for both her marriage and her career. She hoped that with patience and love, she and Anthony could find a solution. This was a tough choice for Ujunwa, and she knew the coming days would be crucial. She felt uncertain, but she was determined to face whatever lay ahead. One sunny Saturday, Ujunwa decided to visit her friend Adobe. She felt heavy in her heart, like carrying a big bag of rocks. When she arrived at Adobe's house, she found her friend waiting with a warm smile, but Ujunwa's face showed her worries. What's wrong, Ujunwa? You look stressed, Adobe said, noticing her friend's expression. Ujunwa sighed deeply. It's Anthony. Since I got the promotion, he's been acting strange. He doesn't talk to me anymore and sleeps in the guest room. Adobe frowned, feeling sad for her friend. I'm really sorry to hear that. Have you tried talking to him? I have, but he avoids me. He leaves home very early and comes back late. I'm stuck. The office needs my answer about the promotion by Monday, and I feel so confused, Ujunwa replied, her voice shaky. Adobe took Ujunwa's hand gently. This is a hard choice, but remember, this promotion is something you earned. You worked so hard for it. You can't let Anthony's worries stop your dreams. Ujunwa nodded, wiping a tear from her cheek. I know, but I wish you understood how much this means to me. I thought we were a team. Adobe thought for a moment. What if you write him a letter? You could tell him everything you feel. Sometimes reading words can help us understand better. That sounds like a good idea. I'll write to him. Thank you, Adobe. I needed your support, Ujunwa said, feeling a glimmer of hope. Of course, Ujunwa, I'm always here for you. Adobe said, smiling. Later that evening, Ujunwa sat at her desk. She wrote her feelings in a letter. She wrote about her dreams, fears, and love for Anthony. After finishing, she placed the letter on the bedside table in the guest room. On Sunday morning, Ujunwa was in the kitchen making breakfast when Anthony came in, already dressed to go out. He noticed the letter on the counter, picked it up, and dropped it back on the table. You didn't read it, Ujunwa said softly. I don't need to read it. I know it's about you wanting to take the Port Harcourt job, Anthony replied. Anthony, what about my wishes? Why can't I have my dreams too? She asked, her heart aching. I'm trying to save our marriage, he said. And you think I'm not trying? I don't want to look back and regret giving up my career, Ujunwa said, her voice rising. Then do what you want. Just know I want you to stay here with me, Anthony said firmly. He walked out, leaving Ujunwa feeling shocked and alone. That evening, she tried calling him and even contacted his friends, but no one knew where he was. Ujunwa felt her world collapsing around her. The next day, she knew she had to make a decision. On Monday, Ujunwa walked into her office, feeling heavy but determined. She spoke with her managing director and decided not to accept the promotion. As she left the office, a wave of regret washed over her. She felt lost and unsure of what she was. Ujunwa drove to her favorite restaurant to find comfort in food. But when she arrived, someone else occupied her usual seat. Feeling lost, she chose another spot and gazed out the window, wishing for Izu, her old love. They had shared happy times, but now everything felt broken. The restaurant owner noticed Ujunwa's sadness. He walked over to her. After exchanging polite greetings, Ujunwa asked if he had seen Izu lately. The owner told her that Izu came to the restaurant a few days after her wedding and sat at their favorite table. It seemed he was saying goodbye. Ujunwa felt a sharp pain in her heart. As she sat alone, watching people rush home, she felt envious of their happiness. Going home no longer felt inviting. Suddenly, her phone rang. It was Adobe. Hey Ujunwa, how are you doing? How did it go at work today? Adobe asked. Ujunwa sighed deeply. I rejected the promotion. I told my boss this morning. I'm so sorry. I know how much you wanted that, Adobe said gently. I just couldn't accept it if it meant losing Anthony, Ujunwa said, her voice breaking. Now I feel like I let myself down. It's okay to put your marriage first, but you shouldn't have to give up your dreams, Adobe replied. I know. I just miss Izu and the peace I had. Everything is so confusing now, Ujunwa admitted. Adobe's voice was calm and reassuring. It's hard when life doesn't go as we expect, but this might be a chance for you to think about what you truly want. I don't even want to go home. I see everyone else with their families and I feel so alone, Ujunwa said. Ujunwa, you are not alone. Life can be tough sometimes. It's okay to feel lost. Just remember, it's okay to not have all the answers. Adobe encouraged her. I just wish I had picked Izu. Life was easier then, Ujunwa said. But you can walk through this with Anthony. Every relationship has problems. What you are feeling is normal, Adobe replied. I hope so, but it feels hard. I feel like I've lost so much, Ujunwa confessed. Everyone makes mistakes. What matters is how you move forward. Talk to Anthony about your feelings. It's important he knows, Adobe suggested. But what if he doesn't understand? He seems so confident and I feel weak, Ujunwa worried. Opening up takes strength, Ujunwa. If he loves you, he will want to know what's going on, Adobe reassured her. Thanks, Adobe. I will try to talk to him tonight. I hope he listens, Ujunwa said, feeling a little better. Always here for you, Ujunwa. Just take one step at a time, Adobe said warmly. Thank you, Adobe. Good night. Good night. Please go home, Adobe said before they hung up. With Adobe's words in her heart, Ujunwa prepared to face her husband, hoping for a way to mend their strained relationship. After her phone conversation with Adobe, her friend, Ujunwa switched off her phone and spent a few more hours at the restaurant. Eventually, she struggled through traffic and arrived home very late. She found Anthony waiting in the living room, engrossed in his phone. Uju, where have you been? It's midnight, and I've been trying to reach you all evening, Anthony exclaimed. I turned off my phone, Ujunwa replied. And why did you do that? What's going on with you? Anthony questioned, concerned. I turned down the promotion, just as you wanted. I hope that makes you happy, Ujunwa said, her voice tinged with frustration. Anthony now understood the situation as he silently watched Ujunwa walk towards their bedroom. Later that night, Anthony approached her as she lay in bed, attempting to start a conversation. I'm sorry you had to give up the promotion, but I did it for us. I'm sure other opportunities will come, he reassured her softly. I know, Anthony, Ujunwa replied, her voice soft but tinged with sadness. But it's not just about the promotion. Anthony sat down on the edge of the bed, looking at her intently. What else is bothering you, Uju? Ujunwa hesitated, unsure of how to articulate her feelings. I just feel lost, Anthony. This whole situation with the promotion, with us, it's also overwhelming. I miss the way things used to be between us. Anthony reached out and gently took her hand. I miss that too, Uju. I know things got out of hand lately, but we can work through this. I love you, and I want us to be happy together. Tears welled up in Ujunwa's eyes as she squeezed Anthony's hands. I love you too, Anthony, but I feel like I've lost a part of myself along the way. I need to figure things out. Anthony nodded. Don't stress too much. Everything will be fine. You will see. They sat in silence, holding each other, each lost in their thoughts, yet finding solace in each other's arms. The night stretched on, but they both knew that this was just one of many situations they would encounter in their marriage. Back at the office, Ujunwa's MD summoned her for a meeting and expressed his disappointment in her rejection of the position of the new branch manager. He told her she was lucky she had a good track record, otherwise they would have shown her the door. Her MD's next question gave her food for thought. He asked her what her plan was now that she had turned down the offer. Did this mean she would not be considered any time there was an opportunity for growth and promotion? The company's structure is designed for all its employees to grow and take on bigger roles and responsibilities. Her MD dismissed her with this thought, letting her know his eyes would be on her. Ujunwa left the meeting with mixed feelings. On one hand, she was relieved that her track record had saved her job, but on the other, she felt a growing sense of unease about her future with the company. She knew she had to carefully consider her next steps. That evening, Ujunwa reflected on the conversation with her MD. She realized she needed a clear plan to demonstrate her commitment to the company's goals while staying true to her own career aspirations. But that feeling of unease won't leave her, because she knew that Anthony will not support her professional growth. She felt deceived. She felt Anthony had lied about wanting to support her career before they got married. It looked like now that they were married, he was showing his true color.